Hello, students. Myself, Professor Neha Sinha, and I'm here to teach home science at OSN Academy. I'm here for the NET students, for the NET aspirants in home science. Now, when we talk about home science, it has a vast range of subjects, starting from nutrition, food science, clothing, textiles, community nutrition, institutional management, research methods, and certain others that I've missed. So, what happens is that after you've done your masters, maybe you've done your masters in textiles, but when you do them in textiles, all the other subjects like nutrition, like community nutrition, like research, like human development, they take a back seat. So, what happens is that the preparation becomes a little tough and you don't have much time for, because 2018 is very nearby and you never know which day, which month they conduct the examinations. So for that, we at OSN Academy have done a detailed study and a detailed literature we have for all the subjects, all the units in home science, starting from food science till research methodology. You will find that we have done detailing in every unit, and we have gone with the kind of the questions that are coming in the examinations of the net. So whenever you go through our literature, whenever you hear me speak, you will kind of understand that whatever we are teaching you is basically based on the type of questions that have been coming in the examinations. And today, I would like to touch the topic of institutional management, which is Unit 3 in Home Science, UGC NET. And in that, I would like to talk about the food service. Now, what is food service? The service that you go in hotels, the kind of service that you get there is known as the food service. So, the manner in which a food is served is known as the food service. There are many types of food services. Let's start with the conventional food service. Now, what happens in the conventional food service? It is basically, if you get to know the idea of it, it is also there in Udupi restaurants if you see it. Well, it is the production and service is done in one and the same unit. There is more demand of food in this type during the peak times, maybe in the morning or maybe in the evening. It might vary according to the time of the year and also according to the competitive events that are taking place. Now, the distribution of labor might be uneven, skilled and unskilled labor is needed in these types of food systems. The production might change with the change in the menu on the daily basis. Someday it might be idli dosa, someday it might be chola bhatura. So the production might change with the change in the menu on a daily basis. And this kind of traditional or conventional food service is the most common type. Okay, now let's talk about in the healthcare facility when a patient service is complex, distribution process involves first is the centralized meal assembly or commissary food service system or central kitchen. It centralizes the food production and food is transported to the receiving kitchen where it is served to the customers. Examples are airline caterers, large city schools, etc. Now, the time between production, assembly, and distribution has to be minimum. Trays are assembled at the central location and then they are distributed to the patient units using carts. So, when you see this in a hospital, then there are trays which are assembled at one central position and then they are distributed to the patient units, different units using the carts. Either these carts are heated or they are the ones that are refrigerated if the food has to be served cold. The advantages of this is it allows standardization of portion, first of all. It gives uniformity in presentation. There is a reduction of waste, and then the time taken by the staff is also less. Next is the decentralized meal assembly. Now, food in decentralized meal assembly is produced at one location and transported to the various locations for assembly at site near the patients. Now, there are equipments to maintain proper temperature, and these equipments are provided at each location, the sites. Difficult, those foods which are difficult to hold, the cooking equipment is available in the service units also. The advantage of decentralized meal assembly is that it has less time needed, and the group services are also easy. We come to the second one, which is known as the ready prepared food service system. In this, the food produced on site, or whether it is held chilled or frozen, it is reheated and served to the customers on right. Food production can be scheduled at any time in this, because the food is prepared and chilled and stored for later rethermalization, means it will be thermalized again for the later use. The menu items are produced and held for service in this. They are packed in bulk in individual portions or combination of containers. Its distinct feature is the separation between time of preparation and service. There is a separation of, between the time of preparation and service. Food here is not for immediate use. Foods are prepared on site. However, place of service is not place of preparation here. And it is also adopted by in-flight caterers. Like when you go for a flight, you order food, then the food has been produced somewhere else. It has been prepared somewhere else, but then it is either chilled or frozen, and on the flight it is reheated and then given to you, right? The three types, main types of this are usually: first is the cook chill process. Now, in this catering system based on cooking the food, and it is then rapidly chilled. Storage in control of low temperature above freezing point, and subsequently reheating before consumption. You get my point? Uh, Basically, the food is rapidly chilled or stored at low temperature, which is above freezing point, and then it is reheated before consumption. Blast chilling by chillers also, that use refrigeration techniques or cryogenic methods, is also used, and this can be stored for 5 days. So the cook chill process can take a food and store it for 5 days. Next is the cook freeze method. There are blast freezers, or you call them cryogenic freezers, which can freeze cooked food for 3 to 6 months. Now, what happens is, first the food is prepared, then it is freezed at say around minus 18 to 20 degrees centigrade. Then it is stored. After storing, it is then transported to the area where it has to be regenerated, and there it is heated by convection and then served. The third kind is the sous vide, SOUSVIDE, or which is also known as vacuum cooking method. This is the most recent and innovative approach. Includes vacuum packing of foods in plastic bags, which can be either raw or semi cooked. Chilled storage is required, and shelf life is extended to 21 days, hence suited to individual meals. It is used in restaurants, and it is not used in large scale, because it requires a lot of cost. That is why it is used in large scale restaurants. That is it. We now come to the third service system, which is now called as assembly served food service system. This is the least common. In this, the food is purchased at the middle to complete end of the food processing continuum. The food purchased is either frozen or chilled for later use. It is then portioned, reheated, and served. For example, in parties or maybe industrial caterings, where single use disposable tableware can be used to reduce cost. The food is prepared somewhere else, it is then frozen or chilled, and then it is portioned out and served. We come to the types of food service now. First is the English service, or which is known as the host service. This is very common kind of a service in which the host plays an active role in this service. The food is brought on platters by the waiter and is shown to the host for approval. The host, basically, then either the host or the waiter, they then portion out the food onto the guest's plate directly, or portions the food and allows the waiter to serve. For replacement of guest food, then the waiter may take the dishes around for guests to help themselves. Second is the French service. It is also called as the personalized service. Now, food is brought directly from the kitchen in dishes and salvers, which are placed directly on the table. The plates are kept near the dish and the guests help themselves. So, we generally use this service when we go out to eat. This is known as the French service. There is one more kind of a service which is known as the silver service. What is the silver service? Well, the table is set for the courses, the soup, the main course, and the sweet dish in sterling silverware. The food is then portioned out into silver platters at the kitchen itself, which is placed on the sideboard with burners or plates to keep the food warm. It is there in the restaurant, those side burners and everything. Now, plates are first placed before the guests. The waiter then picks up the platter from the hot plate and presents the dish to the host for approval. He serves each guest using a service spoon and fork. All food is presented in silver dishes with elaborate dressing. So, this is known as silver service. It is quite common and it is quite, it is you can say that it resembles the English service. It is just that the food which is served here is in silver dishes. We next come to the American service. The American service is also a pre-plated service, which means the food is served into the guest's plate in the kitchen itself. Okay, when you go for say a Haldiram's thali, or when you go for anywhere, Beacon Air or somewhere, you go out and you tell them that you want to have maybe idli sambar or chola bhatura. What they do is they first portion out the kind of, say, if you're asking for chola bhatura, they will give you some chola, they will give you bhaturas, they will give you some other vegetable, and it will be portioned out in the plate itself, and then they serve the plate to you. So in this, the food is served into the guest's plate in the kitchen itself and then brought to the guest. The portion is predetermined by the kitchen, and the accompaniments, say achar or maybe curd, are served with the dish to balance the entire presentation in terms of nutrition and color. It should be appeasing, right? The type of service, this type of service is commonly known as the coffee shop, where service is required to be very fast. We next come to the cafeteria service. This service exists normally in industrial canteens, colleges, hospitals, or hotel cafeterias. So, when you go to the cafeteria service, there is a quick service. The menu is prefixed and it is displayed on large boards. The guests will either have to buy coupon in advance or maybe go directly and ask for the menu, ask for the kind of dish that they want, pay, and then wait for their chances to come and then take the prepared dish. So what happens? The prices is fixed and it is displayed on large boards. The guests either buy coupons in advance, present them to the counter waiter, who then serves them the desired item that they want. Sometimes food is displayed behind in the counter. There's a big counter and you have food displayed in the counter, and guests may indicate their choices that they want this kind of sandwich. The food is served pre-plated and the cutlery is handed directly to the guests. The guests will sit around in tables and chairs, and sometimes high tables are also provided where guests can stand and eat. We come to the counter service or the snack bar service. Over here, there are tall stools which are placed along the counter so that the guest may eat the food at the counter itself. In better establishments, the covers are laid out on the counter itself. Food is either displayed behind the counter for the guests to choose from or is listed on a menu card or common blackboard. We come to grill room service. In this kind of service, there are various meats which are grilled in form of the guest. The meats may be displayed behind in a glass partition or a well decorated counter so that the guest can select and indicate his exact cut of meat. And the food also comes pre plated. We come to the room service, which is the last kind of service. It implies serving of food and beverage in the guest rooms of hotels. There are small orders which are served in trays. The major meals are taken to the room on trolleys. The guest places his order with the room service, and the room service, they take the order. This order the waiter receives, and he transmits the same to the kitchen. Now, in the meanwhile, when the kitchen is making the dish, the people at the kitchen, when they're making the dish, this waiter, he prepares the trolley or the tray. He then goes to the cashier to have a check prepared to take along with the food order for the guest's signature for payment. Usually, clearance of soiled dishes from the room is done after half an hour, or maybe after an hour after the guests have eaten. However, a guest can telephone the room service for the clearance as and when he has finished the meal. Uh, Generally, the room service is of two types, but we'll come back to that later. Till then, keep studying hard, and bye.